Hey, noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today I am dissing TikTok, which is a form of therapeutic technique that I've been doing periodically, which helps me improve my mood, feel better about myself. It's sort of a stress relief that I strongly suggest you to try. Give it a shot, it's great. We could say that every single video that I have dedicated to disrespecting TikTok has been mostly focused on two main items of discussion that we could say represent the core of my problems with the platform. Namely, the type of content that we find on the platform, which I would say, generally speaking, could be considered to be anti-educational, and two, the format, the way the content seems to be spread, particularly when it comes to the young audience. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everything is horrible on TikTok. Maybe 93% of the accounts that are horrible, but there are some nice accounts. For example, my wife's account. You should totally check her out if you already have TikTok. If you don't bother. Don't even install it. But if you do have a TikTok account and you are interested in books, well, she's got a BookTok. It's nice and it's a change from the sort of garbage and rubbish that you find on the platform. I think, obviously, the first thing that we can all agree is the fact that this whole jingling of keys, this whole keeping the attention of video inside another video, everything is so annoying when it comes to TikTok that we shouldn't really be surprised that, of course, yet another controversy has begun. And specifically for today, there are two situations that I would like to address. The first one was this one, the viral videos of people stealing money from Chase ATMs who were just plain check fraud. So a little bit of a financial fraud, if you will. And then the next one, unfortunately, has to do with minors. So it's going to be a little bit a darker topic, if you will. Now, the first one here, we could summarize it that it has to do mainly with human stupidity. In fact, peak level. What did you expect? On TikTok. A number of viral TikTok videos has some people believing they could get free cash from Chase ATMs, but it was just a glitch, and those customers were actually committing fraud according to the bank. So basically, to give you context, what happened here is that a few financial advisors, who on his right mind would take financial advice from TikTok? Financial advice. Anyways, these financial gurus were telling TikTok users, they were informing them that there is a way to get free cash. Free cash. Who believes in free cash? That you could basically go perform something that will see a specific operation at ATMs and you get money that you don't have. Now, first and foremost, it is moronic to even think that something like that could actually work. In the sense that you really think the banks are not going to notice this? There are not going to be any repercussions, like literally with the police involved? How? Okay. But regardless, people believed it. And here we are. But the other aspect that I would like to mention about this is the fact that even if it did work, it would be fraud and dishonest. It would be morally reprehensible. Over the weekend, videos appeared on the app showing people depositing checks for large sums of money at Chase ATMs and then making a withdrawal for a smaller yet substantial amount, lending them to believe that they had discovered a bug and were hitting the jackpot. The problem is that this is just a form of check fraud, a criminal offense. Chase said in a statement to CNN that the issue has been addressed and warned people not to try. Yeah, of course, what you're going to see when you do that, it's an overdraft, and what's going to happen is that your account will go in the negative and then they will contact the local authorities. TikTok. JP Morgan, the bank's parent company, is carefully reviewing the situation. A person familiar with the matter told CNN the bank is still determining how many Chase customers and how much money was involved in the incident, the source said. On Friday, a Chase representative said the bank is investigating the incidents, confirming a report from the Wall Street Journal. But the representative declined to share any information regarding the extent to which law enforcement agencies were involved. I imagine substantial. Regardless of what you see online, depositing a fraudulent check and withdrawing the funds from your account is fraud, plain and simple, a Chase spokesperson said. Yeah, you don't really need a Chase spokesperson to say this. One video showed participants throwing dollar bills in the air with glee, while other posts showed negative balances in their Chase accounts after trying the hack. Of course. But that was the bank putting holes in their accounts, deducting the stolen cash from their accounts. I mean, even if you do that with PayPal, by the way, you don't even need a full-on physical bank with a physical... If you have ever used a cash machine, if you have ever used PayPal, Well, PayPal also has the same. It looks red with a little minus, and you go into negative, and then you owe them the money. You have 120 days to pay the debt, or the account gets closed. There are always repercussions to this sort of dishonest behavior, and yet people believe this. Also, did these accounts get banned? I hope these accounts get banned. Did the police get involved? Because I mean, and you see, the thing that pisses me off the most is that the youth will see this. So either they're going to do something stupid and then they're going to have problems, they're going to get grounded, or in general, they might have even problems with the law. I mean, it's not going to be like a massive problem, but you don't want your child to go through that in their lives because they believed an influencer who is just doing that, either because they're complete morons or because they truly believe it, or they're just doing it for the clicks, but then they don't care. But I mean, the lack of integrity on the people that are actually making this sort of content is insane. Not to mention the low IQ involved in this conundrum. The people that were doing this were seeing big holes in their accounts or huge negative balances. I wonder why. What this means is that some people try to do this with like 10K. That's what I was reading. 10K. You think you can produce 10K out of thin air without anyone noticing? Bank errors in your favor are almost never in your favor. In this case of a glitch, it was just check fraud. And then we finish by seeing his advice: it's not your money, and when they figure it out, they will want it back. Do not spend it, do not move it, just leave it alone and tell the bank. That's a sensible sort of advice that you will not find on TikTok. Okay, so this is kind of the first story. It's recent, but kind of old by internet standard. But I just wanted to use it as an introduction before we jump into something much, much darker, serious, just to show you really where we are at when it comes to these fixation for clicks. And this, unfortunately, is exacerbated by the fact that TikTok seems to reward behavior that puts people, usually children, in danger, because they will try and do stupid stuff, either dangerous acts because, you know, they get the likes and then the dopamine effect, and for the reward system, it actually affects your reward system, not only at a psychological level, but at a chemical level, in an age gap that is particularly sensitive to this sort of situation, the sense that kids want, particularly those that were born in this, want that sort of success. They see other creators that are their age and now they're filthy rich and popular and full of likes, and then they want to do it as well. And the length at which still not fully formed prefrontal cortex is going to go when it comes to the risks involved in order to try and get those sort of benefits that now they want so much is unquestionably troubling. I don't even know why I'm wearing my headphones, to be honest. And we've seen this happen also on different notes. For example, we have seen these kids that they basically go and bother workers at, for example, restaurants, McDonald's, fast food chains, be sometimes violent or disruptive or just break stuff and cause a scene just so that they get the clicks, or maybe they do it during live. And there have to be some sort of conditioning in the sense that if you do something like that, your account will be banned. Maybe give them a 14 days ban. If they do it again, ban them completely. Because unfortunately, that is the only way in which kids would learn, because otherwise, if you reward them, the behavior will continue, and then there you'll have the copycats. But now since we are discussing children and TikTok, check this one out. Inside the TikTok documents, stripping and boosting attractive people. Well, kids as young as 15 were stripping on TikTok's live feature, fueled by adults who were paying for it. Yeah, there is a massive lawsuit when it comes to this. I don't know if it's class action, but it's happening. People are starting to get fed up. I mean, they have to take some responsibilities. I am all for freedom, okay? I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm all for freedom of whatever platform you want to use. When the government was considering banning TikTok, I was like, well, ban it for people of importance. But, you know, I think a regular citizen can have their freedom to decide if they want to use the app or not. Although then again, when it comes to children, I would strongly suggest parents to monitor the sort of content that your kids have access to. But regardless of that, when I see this kind of stuff, then I'm saying, hey, listen, you need to do something. There has to be accountability, and TikTok needs to be monitored. But let's continue. That's what TikTok learned when it launched an internal investigation after a report on Forbes. Officials at TikTok discovered that there was a high number of underage streamers receiving a gift or coin in exchange for stripping, a real money converted into a digital currency, often in the form of plush toy or a flower. This is one of several disturbing accounts that came to light in previously redacted portions of a lawsuit reviewed last week by NPR at Kentucky Public Radio. Yeah, I believe there was like a lawsuit filed in Utah or something like that. Even more troubling was that TikTok executives were acutely aware of the potential harm the app can cause teens, but appeared unconcerned. Well, I wouldn't say unconcerned, because at the end of the day, if this becomes a big scandal, then they will be concerned. Rather than unconcerned, maybe they didn't think that this was going to be a big news. I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to pretend to understand suits, to be honest. The information came after a more than 2-year investigation into TikTok by 14 attorney general that led to state officials suing the company on Tuesday. And rightly so. Here are a few more of the most serious and previously unreported allegations against TikTok, the wildly popular app that is used by around 170 million people in the US. Now, before we continue on this, I imagine that some people will bring up this idea that, oh, it's a Chinese spy app. Now, of course, I am in no position to be able to deny that or to be able to confirm it, because it would only be speculation on my end. But of course, it is a fact that TikTok functions completely differently in China, in the sense that when you see the Chinese younger generation is exposed to, which is all mathematics, science, philosophy, intelligent stuff. It's constantly stuff that you can tell is used to, generally speaking, increase the overall level of education and, I want to say, critical thinking of the average Chinese youth. And then you compare it to the sort of content that TikTok users in the United States, for example, where I live, are exposed to, that you do see that there is a massive difference already. With that being said, is it a Chinese spy system? I don't know. But then again, if they do spy me, they'll only find out that I eat pizza and pasta a monumental amount of time. But I don't really know if people like me or Tommy around the corner are going to really be very useful to Chinese authorities when it comes to spying. With that being said, I do absolutely understand the point of view of those people that say, no, we think this is a Chinese spy app and we don't want to have anything to do with it. Because at the end of the day, if you criticize them, then you should also criticize China 10 times fold, simply because in China, you're not allowed to use any app that the government considers to be outside of the scope of their control in any way, shape, or form. So, can you use Facebook in China? No. Can you use YouTube? No. Of course, when I say China, I mean mainland China, People's Republic of China. So then again, if they can ban everything, and unless you do as you are told by the government, then I'm not saying that I would push for a complete ban of TikTok necessarily, but absolutely, I would say that the US government is in a position where they can dictate, no, we're not going to be okay with this, and this other thing that has to do with this app, and you will comply within our territory. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, isn't it? So continuing to read, you can be addicted in under 35 minutes or 260 videos. TikTok quantified the precise amount of viewing it takes for someone to form a habit. 260 videos. Kentucky authorities note that while it might seem a lot, TikTok videos can be just a few seconds long. Yeah, of course, that's not a lot. Thus, in under 35 minutes, an average user is likely to become addicted to the platform, the state investigators concluded. Well, I absolutely believe this. I mean, I would have to double check it before I can say that is absolutely the truth, but I understand where it's coming from, although then again, you could probably say this about Facebook too. Instagram and all sorts of content that we consume as users in our day and age is specifically designed to be addictive. So the addictive aspect of it's more concerning for me simply because TikTok tends to be used more often by the youth, but the fact that it's addictive by design can be said about literally everything we consume. And I myself think I am absolutely addicted to social media. So exactly, that's the word that I should use. I think this could be used to classify social media as a whole. TikTok's algorithm prioritized beautiful people. When TikTok's main video feed saw a high volume of non-attractive subjects filling everyone's screens, the app rejiggered its algorithm to amplify users to company viewed as beautiful, according to an internal report viewed by Kentucky Investigation. Right. In fact, TikTok's documents showed it went so far as to tweak its algorithm to reduce the visibility of people it deemed not very attractive and took active steps to promote a narrow beauty norm, even though it could negatively impact their young users, the Kentucky authorities wrote in previously redacted documents. But I'd like to know why the documents have been previously redacted. At the end of the day, I mean, this information needs to be vetted. Do I believe it? Not until I see it. This is the only one that I can be like, yeah, because I've seen it. I've literally seen how addictive social media can be, and therefore I'm inclined to believe this for TikTok too, although then again, I wouldn't consider it to be necessarily only for a TikTok feature, a defining feature for TikTok as a whole. When it comes to this one, I mean, It's weird if they chose to do that, mostly because at the end of the day, I mean, there are plenty of creators that I watch that are, sure, very attractive, but then there are also creators that I watch that are not conventionally attractive anyways, but I still watch them because of their personality and because of who they are. So at the end of the day, I don't really see why that would matter, because we have plenty of creators that are attractive, not necessarily because of how good looking they are, but simply because of their personality, the content they present. I mean, there are plenty of accounts that don't even show a face. And in general, I want to say, I don't see how this could monetarily, because at the end of the day, these companies only care about the money. So I don't see how it would monetarily reward the company for doing that. Do they have perhaps some golden boys and golden girls? Probably, but so does YouTube. I mean, there are some creators on YouTube that absolutely are the golden boys. Like, the rules do not apply to them, and we know that for a fact. It's quite clear. But in general, I mean, I would have to look at this one a little more closer to see. I mean, at the end of the day, I think any form of unfair favoritism towards a creator I wouldn't like, particularly if it's algorithmic in nature, so it's non-natural. I think it's the people that should be choosing who they want to watch. And therefore, if you present all sorts of different types of content creators, including me, and then on the homepage, and then people are like, we like this one more, then that should be what the algorithm should use as a metric, together with, of course, average watch time and other elements that have to do with how people reach the surface, if you will. Limits on TikTok use barely had an impact. The app lets parents set time limits on their kids' usage that range from 40 minutes to 2 hours per day. That's fine. TikTok even created a tool that set the default time prompt at 16 minutes per day to combat excessive and compulsive use of the social media app. After tests, TikTok found the tool had little impact, according to just about a minute and a half drop in usage from around 108.5 minutes per day to 107 minutes with the tool. According to the complaint, TikTok did not revisit this issue. I wonder what affects this. Like, are the parents actually implementing it, or do the parents even know that such a thing exists? I wonder how this works. Like, you give them a 40 minutes timeout, and then once, like, a minute 39, they're ready to jump in. Is that, I can understand this could create a little bit of a reverse psychology situation, in the sense that when you're telling your kids, through the app, you have a 40 minutes timeout now, it makes them desire even more. So perhaps, if I mean, I'm not a dad, but I say, when I will become one and my kid is starting to get addicted to something like TikTok, I think I would try to sit down and explain to them why this could be disruptive. And at the end of the day, I still would allow them to use app they want, because if you completely veto it, they will do it just to resist your rules. But as long as they give priority to homework, maybe their job if they have a job, and other types of activities that are productive, or maybe learning another language, and then they want to reward themselves with a little bit of whatever it is, maybe a video game and whatnot, then I would have absolutely no problem with that. But I wonder why this seems to be failing. And then again, I would be monitoring, like we have to, and this again, I'd like to underline, after this whole situation is addressed, because if this situation is not addressed and teens are being exploited, then I would say no, until that's addressed. 95% of smartphone users under 17 use TikTok. That sounds weird, because I know that initially TikTok did have a higher amount of young people, but I believe that has changed. So this kind of leads me to believe that this might be old information. I'll read it anyways, but do take it with a grain of salt, because I did look into this and it doesn't appear to be the case anymore. There still, of course, most kids have TikTok. We know that. But anyways, let me see. A presentation shown to top company official revealed that an estimated 95% of smartphone users under 17, okay, I think I read it wrong, use TikTok at least once a month. Okay, no, I understand. So they're not saying that 95% of users on TikTok as a whole are under 17, but they're saying of all kids that are under 17 that own a smartphone, 95% are on TikTok. I'm inclined to believe that. This led a company staffer to state that it had hit a ceiling among young users. Well, it is catered towards them, isn't it? TikTok viewed itself as being in an arms race for attention, according to a 2021 internal presentation. An internal document about users under 13 instructed moderators to not take action on reports on underage users unless their bio specifically states they are 13 or younger. But honestly, I wouldn't give TikTok to someone this young. Like, I think there are so many other things that they could do or have. Under federal law, social media companies cannot collect data on children under 13 unless the companies have explicit consent from parents, which is absolutely fair. Compulsively using TikTok interferes with kids' normal lives. The documents show that TikTok was aware that it interferes with essential personal responsibilities like sufficient sleep, work, school responsibilities, and connecting with loved ones. Well, yeah, any addiction will. One unnamed TikTok executive put it in stark terms, saying the reason kids watch TikTok is because the power of the app's algorithm keeps them from sleep and eating and moving around the room and looking at someone in the eyes. That is insane that an executive would say that. All right, let's see their response. Response from TikTok senators and a watchdog group. On Thursday, TikTok spokesman Alex Horek criticized NPR for reporting on information that is now under a court seal, claiming the material cherry-picks misleading quotes and takes outdated documents out of context to misrepresent our commitment to the community safety. Hey, listen, TikTok people, if all of this information is misreporting and in reality you are really looking into it, well, first of all, you've had plenty of time. I mean, you are taking your time. This is happening under your supervision. So you should first, before you complain about it, you should first admit the failure, because it clearly has failed. Whatever monitoring that you were doing, looking into it, has failed. After admitting your failure when it comes to protecting the kids, I think the next thing is show us what sort of steps you're putting into place in order to make sure that the sort of exploiting, but also the financial idiocy is addressed quickly. Because I do remember that when I did post on TikTok, because I used to post on TikTok precisely because I wanted to combat this sort of situation, whereas, you know, the average American kid is exposed to nonsense, at least I was like, hey, let me produce some good content on TikTok to try and counteract this. And I might try again in the future. That's what I was trying to do anyways. And I did get to some reasonable success, almost 100,000 followers on TikTok. But still, I noticed that some of my videos, simply because I was showing a dull gladius, would be blocked by the app. So this is the part that really annoys me, is that they have the ability to block a video when they think it could be dangerous. Well, then what's more dangerous, TikTok CEO? What is more dangerous? A dull gladius in my scabbard while I'm wearing a Roman armor, as an adult, by the way, as I am teaching history, or this? That is what I call a massive failure at an exponential level. So hopefully they will take care of this since they're getting hit in the wallet. I think this kind of closes up the argument for today. Thank you for watching the video until the end, but at the end of the day, the message that I have for you today is that TikTok sucks. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.